Okay, folks, I'm here. Sam is here doing the July 2020 forecast. You can see here if you want to like, subscribe, get notified of updates here on the channel, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, or whatever, you can do that, and subscribe. But we're going to be talking about July 2020 and a lot going on. We have eclipse, Guru Poornima eclipse. We have planets that are now retrograde are going to be going forward at some point, and a bunch of other fun things that we have going on here. Let me, let me move this forward. So where are we at? Oh, wrong chart. All right, so we have to move the big chart forward. So I'm recording this on the 26th of June, and so we start July 1st. Next Wednesday. So next Wednesday, it's the next Wednesday from now is July 1st. And you see that we start July with the moon in Scorpio. So first, let's just get an overview. We're in this eclipse cycle. We just had a solar eclipse on the 21st, on the 20th, 21st, depending on where you live. That was on the solstice, on the summer solstice. And so again, we're in this Gemini cycle where we're really about examining our ideas, examining our preconceptions, and, hopefully really examining what we think is good information, right? Our information set has been so scrambled the last year and a half or so since Rahu went into Gemini. And so right now we're in this eclipse cycle where, with the sun and the moon eclipsed, this, these themes are coming into the forefront in Gemini with sun and moon joined Rahu. Look around, we can see all of the, the beliefs that we held sort of shattered because this Ketu this Ketu in Sagittarius is really shattering a lot of our beliefs. Those things that we believed, we think we're this, but now we see that. All of our sacred cows getting tested, getting, really destroyed, and, where we're very tempted and challenged to be extended beyond what we already believe. And again, that's being shown by the north end of the node, which is Gemini, which is saying, wait a minute, you believe this already, but take a look at this. You think you know something. You think your beliefs are real. You think this world is real. Well, how about I show you something else? And again, this is happening all over the place now in our world. So this is a backdrop for July 2020 to begin. So again, there's a lot of this eclipse energy that really starts the whole cycle where we're being challenged to question our own thoughts and ideas and beliefs. Again, we have these planets are retrograde. Venus, as I record this, Venus just turned direct on the 25th, which was yesterday. So Venus had been retrograde in Taurus. Venus is now moving forward. So now we're moving forward with some of those ideas or some of those ways of taking care of each other, ways of nurturing each other. We have to get out of our head. We have to get out of our beliefs and our, out of all of this kind of spin and these stories and start taking care of each other, trying to heal each other, trying to nurture each other. I'll talk about this in greater detail in a bit, but again, we've been so into our philosophies and which philosophy is right. And is it this? Is it that? Is it right or left? Is it, yes, we need to protest, but we have a pandemic. But some of their protesters, some are vandals and blah, blah, blah. Like, again, this sort of in the spin cycle of, well, it's just the right. Well, it's just the left. Underneath it all that is just a bunch of ideas. Venus moving direct shows that we have a real possibility of seeing beyond all of that spin, which is what Rahu and Gemini is really about, spin and propaganda, and seeing through it and get to helping each other, get to healing each other, get to doing something that is proactive to preserving our society and our culture and our world and our health and each other. So Venus had been retrograde, where we'd been evaluating and circling back on how much respect we feel, how much we respect others. Venus retrograde in Taurus had been reflecting on that, literally, and also how well we're caring for each other through pandemics and all this, but also in a larger context, racial context around the world. Notice how Venus retrograde showed a need to take care of ourselves more in a pandemic and in a larger context as well. This unhealed racial divide all around the world. Venus retrograde, all that blew up. So again, now Venus is moving forward again, and it's like, whoa, okay, now we need to take care of each other better and actually put things into practice, hopefully, that are practical. Again, Venus and Taurus, very practical. So again, this is actually before July. This is kind of where we are now. This is the 26th. We see Venus is direct. Mercury is going to turn, Mercury is still retrograde, and he turns direct in July. I think it's the 11th or something. When does he go direct? Yeah, it was 12th, something like that. Okay, so let me go back to July 1st. So again, but this is a context of this Gemini cycle, working through our ideas, questioning our beliefs, shining a very fierce light of, shining a very fierce light of scrutiny upon what we're doing right now and these things that we believe. That's Ketu in Sagittarius. Now, you see, one of the first things that happen when we go into July is Jupiter actually backs up into Sagittarius. Now, again, we see here, even on the 26th, as I'm recording this now, Jupiter is like almost retrograde back into Sagittarius. But on the 30th, he actually crosses over the border there. And again, this is Lahiri Namsha. Vedic astrology uses sidereal zodiac, right? In all the texts, very clear, no debates about this. Ashwini and Aries, the zodiac is pinned. So once you do that up here, then that means all of this lines up. So Jupiter backs up into Sagittarius on June 30th. And then July 1st, so by the time we start July 1st, Jupiter is now in Sagittarius, and he's with Ketu, pretty wide orb, but they're both still in Sagittarius. So we start with the moon in Scorpio for July 1st and 2nd, and into the 3rd as well. So, we start, it's pretty intense. Of course, the moon is in its debilitated sign in Scorpio, but it's where we can bring a lot of devotion and a lot of depth, a lot of emotional depth and power. But we have to work through some of our toxic fears and projections and the stress of Scorpio, which is to feel vulnerable and strengthen those vulnerabilities, right? So again, Mars here is the ruler of Scorpio. Mars is in Pisces, so he starts July in Pisces, and in fact, he's in Pisces for the whole month. So this is very devotional in general. Mars in Pisces shows that there's a time of great devotion now that's possible. The nature of Mars is to fight for something, to be the spiritual warrior. Hopefully, it's a warrior for something. That's the nature of Mars. In Pisces, it's very much the spiritual warrior, fighting to preserve our emotional integrity, our emotional strength on a deeper level. And again, Mars is where we need to have the courage to confront our own emotional weaknesses and stresses. And so Mars, when he's in Pisces, it brings a lot of that elevated metaphysical, devotional nature. So this transit of Mars through Scorpio at the beginning of the month, these first few days, shows a higher devotional possibility for sure. But again, we could definitely feel some triggering going on. That's the kind of catalyst. The catalyst of Scorpio to go into a deeper and higher self is often this, this emotional triggering. So July 1st, 2nd, 3rd could be a time of that stressful triggering. On the 3rd, we have the exact, let me see. Oh yeah. So on July 4th, we're going to actually have that lunar eclipse. You see on the 3rd, the moon goes into Sagittarius, 3rd, 4th, and into the 5th. But you see here on the 4th, we have the lunar eclipse, excuse me, another wide lunar eclipse. And the sun or the moon going through Sagittarius on the 3rd, 4th, and 5th really shows more of a resurgence of hope, higher wisdom, higher teachings, greater connection to our teachers, and the things that give us an authentic sense of hope. Now, on the July 4th, of course, that's a day of patriotism in the United States. It's a celebration of our independence from Britain. But it's definitely it's also a day, aside from Independence Day as a holiday in the U.S., it's definitely going to be a day of feeling connected to higher teachings and higher wisdom for those who are not so patriotic. The 3rd, 4th, and 5th are very good for, again, teachings, higher wisdom, gurus. For myself, these are days to really study and ponder things like astrology and yoga, and to practice and put these great teachings into practice. Aside from July 4th being a holiday, a secular holiday in the US, it's a spiritual holiday, one of the most important, called Guru Poornima, which is the full moon of the Guru. And it's the day of the year that is the most conducive for hearing the message of your gurus, of your teachers, and putting their teaching into practice in the most immediate way. And again, this full moon usually happens in Sagittarius, sometimes happens in Capricorn, but it's usually in Sagittarius. It's in the month of Ashad, which, we have Uttar Ashad and Purva Ashad. This is why it's called Ashad, this month, this Hindu month. And so we have this, this very sacred holiday on July 4th, Guru Poornima. So the reason it's so powerful is because the moon is full, which brings the mind into its highest light, the mind and heart and emotions. Because the moon is really, it's the heart, it's the mind, it's the part of you that feels alive and connected to this life and this lifetime and this body and these feelings and that family you had and those experiences you've had, and having that be something that, again, feels embodied and feels grounded and feels good, basically. Because the moon is really the part of us that wants to feel good. One second. And on Guru Poornima, we feel good imbibing the essence of the Guru. We feel good in that state of Guru worship or seva or devotion. Now, again, it's not said exactly why this is the full moon of the Guru, but it's pretty clear, if you use common sense as an astrologer, that the reason this one is said to be the most auspicious for worshiping the Guru is because it usually happens in Sagittarius, which is said to be the most blessed sign. Certainly it's blessed as the active quality of Jupiter. The active inspiration is what Sagittarius is. So the full moon, when the mind is the most full, we have 12 full moons each year, approximately. And this full moon, this Poornima, is the one that's usually in Sagittarius, the month of Ashad, and this is the one where we can really get it through our thick skull. Of all the days of the year, we can really get the guru's message the most on this day, because we're full of something all the time. On the full moon, we're the most full of it. We're the most full of ourself, the most full of our emotions and identity. And on this one, we're the most full of our emotions and identity in Sagittarius, which is the most connected to the guru. So July 4th, aside from any secular celebration and holiday, is Guru Poornima. That's the real celebration. That's the real teaching. So you can see that this transit on the second, third, and on the third, fourth, and fifth, though, is also it's also joined Ketu, the south node, and Jupiter is at a wide angle. So again, this brings into question all of that Sagittarius energy that we're dealing with now, that Ketu and Sagittarius that I mentioned. So this is very spiritual in the authentic sense. When I say spiritual, I mean it authentically. Usually when I say something is spiritual, I don't mean it's spiritual like, oh, you're going to feel really good. No, I don't mean it that way. Most of the time when people say, oh, it's going to be very spiritual, they think it's oh, you're going to feel really good that day. Usually when I say it, it's not what I mean. In fact, it's often not what I mean, because that's a kind of spiritual bypassing, a kind of emotional spirituality that feels good, but often something that's purely spiritual is something that's negating of this world, and it can often be something where there's a struggle. And that struggle, again, is a catalyst for authentic spiritual awareness and awakening. Like this full moon in Guru Poornima on the lunar eclipse joined Ketu and Jupiter also close by, is going to be where a lot of this frustration and this angst about you not having a clue about what's happening, rather than it just frustrating you and making you angry at everybody around you and saying, oh, I actually know what's going on. It's all of you who don't know what's happening, and making you frustrated with everybody who won't just see it the way you see it, which again, this is a big part of what we're stuck in right now. Instead of all of that, there's a possibility of surrender, because Ketu is going to go, look, it's you. It's your emotional state. It's your emotions that you bring out that are frustrating you. Why don't you listen to the guru for once and get out of all of those preconceptions that you think are right? That's what's frustrating you. You're not right. You don't understand this universe. You don't understand this cosmos. You understand this little bit. So Ketu is just trying to reject all of that. So it's very important few days here, July 3rd, 4th, and 5th especially. Doesn't mean it's going to feel very good, but it's Guru Poornima. It's a lunar eclipse. It's in the nakshatra of Purva Ashada, which again is very devotional. It's related to the god of the ocean called Apas. And this god of devotion makes this a very devotional nakshatra. And so this is a big part of it as well, where instead of, again, filled with your ideas, you can really be filled with the light of the guru's wisdom. And so now we have, we're going to get a loud noise here always when I do these. Okay. So this is on the 5th. Again, on July 5th, you see that the moon is very close to Jupiter. When you look up in the sky, you'll see a bright moon and big bright Jupiter, because Jupiter is also very retrograde at this point, and the moon is very bright. So this will look beautiful in the sky. Look up in the sky on these nights, especially on July 4th. There's especially on July 4th, there is fireworks and all that stuff. But definitely aside from that, you'll see a big bright moon and big bright Jupiter right next to it. And it's pretty amazing to see. And so you'll see July 5th as well. They'll be like exact on the ecliptic plane. So very transformative. July 3rd, 4th, 5th, a time to really get and feel what is really happening in your mind and world, especially as it relates to your beliefs and all of that. So then on July 6th, 7th, especially on July 6th and 7th, we have the moon in Capricorn, and it's joined Saturn. Now again, Saturn is still retrograde. Hang on. Never fails. Never fails. Happens a couple times a day for about 5 minutes, but yeah, anyway. All right, so again, these planets are still retrograde. So on July 6th and 7th, the moon goes into Capricorn. You'll also see Saturn there. And again, Saturn is brighter than he usually is right now. He'll be very bright as well. And you'll see him also next to the moon during this time. And so the moon in Capricorn on July 6th and 7th, very different. Capricorn comes after Sagittarius, makes things very serious. So again, after having that bhakti and that devotion of the moon in Sagittarius, the moon Jupiter in Sagittarius, you'll have the seriousness, the focus, the concentration, the stillness, the solitude of the moon in Capricorn, which comes next. And again, it's also joined Saturn. So it definitely brings a, sort of concentrated depth and stillness to the whole experience. So really good for integrating those experiences from the Guru Poornima on July 6th and 7th. And then on the 8th and 9th, on July 8th and 9th and part of the 10th, the moon goes into Aquarius. Now, a few things going on. You can also see the sign of Aquarius is now being hemmed. So planets in Aquarius, like in your natal chart, and in, especially if you have an Aquarius ascendant, moon in Aquarius, people who have strong planets or important planets, or really any planet in Aquarius, it's being hemmed right now between Saturn and Mars, and it's going to be for a few months. So when the planets get hemmed, it's really important. And it's when you have either a benefic or a malefic straddling another sign. So you have this malefic Saturn, this malefic Mars straddling Aquarius. So again, in your natal chart, any planets there is getting hemmed, or whatever house that is. If it's your 7th house, like if you're Leo, that's getting hemmed for a while, because Mars is going to be in Pisces for a while. And then he's going to go into Aries and then stop and then go back into Pisces again. So it's going to be hemmed for quite a while, for much of this year. But anyway, so we have the hemming as the moon is going through Aquarius. But that'll be on the 8th and 9th and into the 10th. Now, Aquarius, when the moon goes into Aquarius from Capricorn, it's where we're trying to take that concentrated, intense focus of Capricorn and then bring it out. And instead of just concentrating and focusing on our own preservation and kind of saving our own skin a little bit, which is what Capricorn is about. Capricorn's about introspection, concentrating our energy within. We actually bring it out now. Again, so after we work through our insecurities, our emotional insecurities and fears, then what we want to do is naturally come out and share it with others and say, look, here's how I work through my stuff. Maybe this can help you work through yours. So Aquarius is very social in that regard, still ruled by Saturn, but it shows where we want to be of service to others, taking the struggles that we've worked through and helping others work through them on the collective level. So again, on the 8th, 9th, and into the 10th, those are really good days for showing up in your community, however that works for you. Maybe it's locally, with some kind of volunteering or things that you do. Maybe it's something like online now, because we all can help and serve just because of things like the internet. Whatever it is, it's a time to really be aligned with others and be united through higher purposes, higher causes, and things that you want to be the world that you want to leave in your place. And again, these days, we're also philosophical about all this stuff, like we want to improve race relations and we want to do this and we want to do that. And we do it by, posting something on the internet. Okay, it's better than not posting it, I guess. But are we really doing anything? Literally, even like donating money or donating time or actually doing something to support whatever cause it is. It doesn't have to be that. So the moon going through Aquarius, those couple days really can show a time for you to connect with your tribe. And in fact, even expand your tribe a little bit. Because one of the problems I think right now is we're all very tribal and we're happy in our tribe. But then anyone outside of our tribe, we're just, oh, you just don't get it. You just don't get that, especially around politics and all that stuff. So one of the great lessons of our time right now is to extend beyond just our comfort zone, beyond just the philosophical battles that we're going to win. Oh, it's because of the righties or the lefties or the this or the that. So I'm going to stand here and be right in my perfect, scrutiny of everybody else and never reach out and make a difference and make anything better. So that's a great possibility. Now, again, you have this Saturn-Mars hemming here. So there could be some real possibilities of some battles and some arguments. Be careful of getting into, especially internet battles or other kind of battles on the 8th, 9th, and into the 10th. Instead, if you see some kind of polarizing thing, try to find a way to serve. Try to find a way to bridge the gap. Turn your enemies into allies. Try turning enemies into allies and listening to their point of view as well. So then on July 10th, 11th, and 12th, so like midway through the 10th, and then also the 11th and 12th, there's the moon in Pisces. Join Mars. Again, now this moon-Mars conjunction, when you look up in the sky, you'll see, Mars is also getting pretty big in the sky. He's going to be retrograde by the middle of the summer. I believe he goes retrograde, I don't remember the exact, sometime in August. But his maybe the middle end of July. But anyway, no, it's in August, sorry. But anyway, on the 10th, 11th, and 12th, Mars is in Pisces. It's joined the moon. And this moon-Mars conjunction in Pisces really shows that spiritual warrior energy coming into the forefront. Pisces is where we let go of it all and say, okay, the world is the way it is. I can do my best, but ultimately I'm not going to fix it all. I'm in the world, but not of the world. I'm of the spiritual dimension, of the cosmic dimension. That's my true nature, is a metaphysical cosmic being. So when the moon goes into Pisces, that's how we feel, or planets that are in Pisces have that cosmic nature to them. So with this Mars here, he's really defending that truth. This is why Mars in Pisces is quite mystical, metaphysical, and really powerful in that regard, to bring that metaphysical truth into reality, so that we're not just thinking that our whole life revolves around the world and politics and saving the world or whatever it is. Everybody is so attached to all this, as much as I'm also attached, and I notice, and I have my views for sure. But frankly, I also I get involved, and then I'm also like, well, but you can only do your best. I've been in and out of that. I mean, I don't forget, because I started doing a lot of meditation very early in my life, that I'm not of this world, really. I mean, and again, it doesn't have to be a false choice. There's a false choice. And when people only have the false choice when they don't remember the true nature of the self. The person who has experience, or who has a lot of experience with like meditation and connecting to the true nature of the self, they don't wind up with the conundrum, with the problem of saying, well, how much do you concentrate on the world and how much do you concentrate on yourself? You don't forget concentrating on yourself if you've concentrated on yourself. That doesn't go away. So realize this. If you're wondering, well, I get so lost in the world and I want to show up and make a difference and all this, but then I have to just kind of get away from it all because it's too much. And how do you juggle both? That means that you need to pay more attention to the metaphysical self, because that metaphysical self is unlocking those truths that never change. They don't change. It doesn't matter what the world looks like. The inner world is eternal and infinite and it doesn't change. That's the rock. That should be the foundation of everything. When that's the foundation of everything, then you can get involved in anything and never lose yourself in it. You only lose yourself in it because you haven't found yourself, your true self, yet. We're always looking to find ourselves in things of the world, people and all that. Instead, we lose ourselves in those things. The only way to find yourself, your true self, is through things like meditation. And I say things like meditation, but there really isn't anything like it. There's only that. So if you don't do that, and that's not where you're connecting to your true self, then you're going to lose yourself in everything that's external. Everything, all of it. You'll lose yourself in all of it. And you only find yourself in one way, and that's meditation, reflection. I'm talking about this a lot relative to this placement because that's what it's really showing. The sign of Pisces is that sign. It's that nature where just when the moon is there, or any planets that are there, right now Mars is there, like I said, but that very vibration is the vibration that is not of this earth. So literally, like on these days, the truthful vibration for you is to try to connect with that thing that's not of this earth. To try to connect with the thing that's not of this earth. If you do that authentically through meditation, you're going to connect with the part of you that's not of this earth. Instead, what we wind up doing when we connect with something not of this earth in a Pisces way, it's things like watching movies or tuning out or checking out. Checking out is usually the nature of Pisces. Daydreaming, dreaming, which, by the way, that's also something not of this earth. When you're dreaming, you're not on this earth. Your energy is somewhere else. It's some dream, some fantasy. So instead of indulging in the fantasy on these days, destroy the fantasy, which is Mars and Pisces. I'm going to destroy the fantasy that I'm just this person on this earth and connect with the authentic reality, which is I'm transcendent of all this. That's my true nature. And that true nature doesn't change. And it's not just my true nature, it's the true nature of all existence. That's the thing that you share with everyone else. That's the thing that's not separate. That's the oneness that you do feel with everything. But it comes from dissolving the ego, from surrendering and letting go. So again, I'm talking about some things more than others because they're really inflection points. This inflection point of this eclipse is huge. This moon Mars in Pisces is huge when this comes on those couple days. Don't waste the time. Don't waste the opportunity. Don't just like, oh, I'll watch movies, I'll tune out, I'll just kind of space out and get frustrated because, again, then Mars will be there frustrating you. You'll feel frustrated and want to escape from your frustration into something. When the true nature of Mars is saying, wake up, be disciplined, meditate, connect to the self. So then on July 13th, 14th, the moon is in Aries, and Aries is ruled by Mars. And so again, July 13th and 14th, the moon is in Aries, ruled by Mars. So now it's the rebirth after the sort of gestation period of Pisces. Moon goes into Aries, 13th and 14th, and that's about like starting a new cycle, about a new beginning, and that excitement, that excited nature to want to hit the ground running and do something new, a new identity. Again, it can be kind of frustrating a little bit at times because we're, Aries is restless, right? It's like saying, okay, so we can be impatient. Be careful of impatience and other things like that at that time. So Mercury turned retrograde at this time. So the day before, Mercury turns retrograde on the 12th. I'm sorry, Mercury turns direct. So after the 12th, when Mercury turns direct, it's going to feel much easier to communicate and sort of move forward with a lot of those Mercury themes, which have to do with understanding things, understanding and comprehending the nature of what's going on. So again, then on the 13th and 14th, the moon in Aries, again, it's also good for disciplined activities, physical activities, but it's better when those physical activities are something like yoga or dharmic activities that awaken consciousness, not just, get you, physical. By the way, I love physical stuff. I play tennis. I swim. I do, all kinds of physical activities. I love playing sports and stuff. That's that level. It's good physical exercise, but it's not necessarily, stilling the mind and bringing peace. So try to keep that in mind. So then on July 15th, 16th into the 17th, the moon is in Taurus with Venus. And again, this is where the moon is exalted, right? Taurus is the fixed earth and Venus is the ruler. So these will be some very beautiful days. July 15th, 16th, 17th, very good days to connect with the heart, to connect with your deeper, a sense of beauty and your family, your relationships, your, feeling nurtured and healed, nurturing, healing, again, of each other, of yourself is quite powerful when the moon is joined Venus, or I'm sorry, when the moon is in Taurus, but in this case, it's also joined Venus in Taurus, which means that, again, when you look up in the sky, Venus will be quite bright still. And this will also look very, very beautiful. And, the moon is exalted in Taurus because it's the fixed earth. And the moon is the mind where our emotions are restless. So those restless emotions that come from Venus is sort of healed and taken care of, or it's very easy to heal it when the moon goes into Taurus, and particularly if Venus is also there, because Venus is the nurse kind of energy, and that that great healing will feel readily accessible on the 15th, 16th, and 17th, and this is really a time to heal others as well. Again, forgive, really connect to the heart, be compassionate. Again, not just triggered or trying to win or other kind of negative things. There's quite a bit of this. There's a lot of negativity right now, again, with this eclipse and these planets, these retrograde planets and the Capricorn, Jupiter, K2. K2 influencing Jupiter is, again, it's making us quite fanatical. We got to chill out some, man. Everybody is just so worked up and fanatical about their views, right? And not being so, again, polarized around all these views. And so this moon Venus can be very nurturing and healing to us all. So then we have the moon in, so on July 18th, 19th, especially July 18th and 19th, the moon in Gemini is, and it's also joined Rahu and Mercury. So this could be quite good for our communication, intelligence, discrimination, flexibility, right? Especially because Mercury is there. Mercury is the ruler. And so Mercury being there as the ruler especially is good for bringing intelligence, flexibility, and again, listening to what others say, listening to the language and the words that you use and that others use. We've just gone through this Mercury retrograde cycle where it was really a time to back up and listen. Listen to ourselves, listen to others for a change, because we're usually just talking and not listening and not gathering and reflecting. So now that Mercury is moving forward, it's a time to hopefully take what we've learned and try to connect it with others and hear their point of view and notice where you're not in sync with others' views and whatnot, and try to adjust and try to communicate better. Now, Rahu is also there. Of course, Rahu in Gemini is quite good for bringing intelligence to the Rahu area of life, but it also creates disturbance. Again, this is why we're in this time, in this era now, where we don't know what to think. So many ideas and competing philosophies and competing solutions, and again, conspiracies, and no matter where we turn and no matter where we look, even people we agree with, we disagree with. Because, you know, I made a post on social media recently that, you know, even if we agree with people that there should be, I don't know, healing in the Black community, or we should all wear masks because of the virus, even if we agree that we all should be doing the same thing, we try to talk about it now, and people will wind up arguing because, again, well, but I think this is still happening, so let's wind up arguing about this point of contention. Like, we're just constantly missing the bigger picture, fighting and arguing about the minutia, about who's more to blame, this one or that one, or whatever it could be. So there's so much of this now. Again, this is Rahu. But again, with Mercury there, especially now that Mercury is going to be going forward again, Mercury going retrograde has really stirred even more of it up lately. Him going direct after July 12th, Mercury going direct, is our opportunity to have hopefully looked at some of this and then start to think more intelligently about it. Like, what's the point? What's the point of all these ideas? Are they just to spin ideas, or are they to do something healing and helpful and to create a better world? I mean, isn't that the point of all the ideas? Eventually to like help each other or something. Maybe not. Maybe it's just to win or to have our philosophies be right. But that creates suffering for all of us. So again, this Rahu, Moon, Mercury, these few days here, that would be on the 18th, 19th, really big. Again, this is also a real inflection point. Notice where you might get into some real philosophical battles with people now. When the moon is hitting these eclipse points now again, we're not having eclipses anymore. The eclipse season is over after the lunar eclipse on Guru Poornima. But the moon, anytime it hits the nodes, it's going to vibrate that eclipse frequency. So then on July 20th, now we have a new moon. Actually, the new moon is going to be on the 19th. Is that correct? Amavasya, yeah. So the Amavasya is on the 19th. And it'll be the Amavasya in Cancer. Let me move the hours up so we see. So this is July 19th. Move it up a day. And back up hours. Well, what is the exact day? I want to see the exact time. No, it is the 20th. Okay. Or it is the 20th. Sorry. So it is on the 20th. We have the new moon. It's in Pushya Nakshatra. I'll do a dedicated forecast to that. But again, at this time on July 20th and 21st, we have the moon in Cancer. It's a new moon, so it's the beginning of that cycle. So, you know, this Cancer cycle is really about connecting to the heart, connecting to our more nurturing side. And again, it comes after the cycle in Gemini. The cycle in Gemini is it's like the young child playing and figuring everything out and wanting to understand how everything works. But what about this? What about this, right? That's the Gemini energy, that curious child. The Cancer energy is kind of like when the child becomes like a sort of emotional, sort of teenager stage. That's the stage I use often for Cancer. It's like the awkward sort of emotional teenager that just feels everything really, really personally. With Cancer, we tend to take everything personally. But that's also good because we also become extremely sensitive to others. Again, but we can be overly sensitive as well. It obviously cuts both ways. We know how sensitivity and oversensitivity can also be very narcissistic, right? Where it's everything is about how I feel, right? That's just as narcissistic as me trying to dominate everybody, me trying to, like, everything someone does makes me feel a certain way. So every interaction is about how I feel. Well, we've all been around people like that too. That's also very narcissistic. So we need to be careful always with that, with the moon in Cancer. But it's also, that's a negative quality. But the positive quality in general is when the moon goes through it, collectively, we feel a bond and a nurturing and a sensitivity to each other. So again, this is actually the start of that cycle on the 19th and 20th, on the 20th and 21st. Sorry. Get this back to days. Oops. 20th and 21st. So 20th and 21st, a lot of sensitivity, perhaps oversensitivity. Be aware of that. Then the moon in Leo. Again, we have moon in Leo then for the 23rd, 24th. I'm sorry, one more time. 22nd and 23rd and into the 24th. 22nd, 23rd, and into the 24th, the moon is in Leo. And when the moon's in Leo, it's more individualized, right? Maybe the other side of what might be narcissism, like I'm the important one. I'm not saying these two sides are more narcissistic. It's just an example. But the sun in Leo definitely has that feeling very empowered. I'm sorry, the moon in Leo, feeling very empowered in our emotions. So emotionally empowered, and again, also aware of how much we want to share those feelings. But one of the things that can happen, we have to be careful with Leo, is overriding other people's boundaries. Even Leo, because Leo is naturally wanting to be generous and naturally wanting to be helpful, just like Cancer in that sort of maternal way. Cancer is more of a maternal energy. Leo is more paternal. And what Leo can do when people have a lot of planets in Leo is just be too, like appoint themselves as like, you should do this, you should do that, like unwanted advice. And so when the moon is in Leo, we can be that kind of a little overbearing in the sense of, you didn't do this, you should have done that because I can see, and I'm just doing it for your own good. I'm trying to be helpful and I want to empower you. So you should do this. Like it's overbearing. So what we should always remember in Leo, especially if people have a lot of planets there, is manage your own kingdom. First, foremost, and forever. Manage your own kingdom. Don't try to manage other people's kingdom. It's usually overbearing. It can be overbearing. So this is what, again, Leo is a king or it's a tyrant. It's a tyrant when it's trying to run other people's kingdoms. Run your own kingdom and it's great. And then in running that kingdom, generosity flows. So keep that in mind as the moon goes through Leo on the 22nd and 23rd especially. And be careful of giving unwanted advice for especially other people's. It's for your own good. It's because I see what you should have done, whatever it is. But again, naturally empowering and naturally feeling your own strength and the integrity and power of your own identity is great. And again, this is why it's good for actions. Fire signs are mainly great for actions. Do it. Walk the talk. Don't tell people what they should do. Lead by example. Do it. Be a king. And just you being a king and shining powerfully is a great example. And a great king is also very humble. He doesn't need to say, see how great I am? See all the greatness I've done? No, your mere greatness is shown by your example. You don't have to say it. If you're the one in charge, you don't have to be a domineering figure. If you've ever been a boss at work, a good boss is one who knows he's the one with the power. He doesn't need to boss people around. In fact, usually a good boss knows he has the power and is very supportive of those and supports the ones below him because he doesn't need to dominate them. He already has the power. Again, when you see a tyrant, it's someone who has the power and then they strut around with it. And it's weak. So it's important because Leo and Cancer are the two sovereign signs. It's the mother who has all that nurturing capacity, but it's also could be too emotional, even like a mother who is too invested in her own feelings, not her children's well-being. Or a father who has the power, but again, he could be domineering. So then on the 24th and 25th and into the 26th, or, halfway through the 24th, 25th, and halfway through the 26th, moon in Virgo. So, Virgo is that sign of details, organizing things. It takes that power of the kingdom in Leo and organizes it into all these tasks and details. So you see that very clear, and you'll feel that on the 24th, 25th, into the 26th, as the moon goes through Virgo. One of the great inside tips with Virgo, again, is also to be easy on yourself, be easy on others. Don't be so critical. Instead of using that rational intellect to point out or to notice your flaws and the flaws in others, again, use it to bring greater sensitivity and compassion to yourself and to others, and organize things in a very productive way. That's a great thing to do in Virgo. When the moon goes through Virgo, clean the house and do things that align you with that nature psychologically and emotionally. And then again on the 20s, mainly on the 27th, midway through the 27th and the 28th, midway through the 26th, sorry, it's always a little tricky. Yeah. Halfway into the 26th, then the 27th and 28th, the moon is in Libra. Libra is ruled by Venus, and it's about the active communication and seeking of connection with another person, where we are aligned with other equals, grown-ups. You get this, I get this. It's an equal exchange where, again, we see this in romantic relationships and business agreements. So Libra is really about the power of your agreements and your ability to make an agreement that you're actually okay with, that you're actually happy with. Not where you give too much and then get angry because you gave away too much of the store and now it's the other person's fault and you're going to fight with them. You need to hold good boundary first. Understand your no compromise zone. Understand your no compromise zone. Only from that place can you make a good agreement. If you don't understand your boundaries very well, then you're not going to be able to make a good agreement, because you're going to be like, okay, as long as I can have a connection, right? And that's not good. That's going to pile up eventually and not feel good after a while. It'll wear you out. So this is the part of Libra that will be very important. Obviously, that's a main sort of focal point of Libra is the agreements that we have. So again, on halfway through the 26th, the 27th, and then the 28th, that's going to be important. Then 29th and 30th, we have the moon in Scorpio, where we began the month. It's also opposite this Venus. Venus is now about to go into Gemini, but we also have this aspect of the moon opposite this powerful Venus in Taurus, which will certainly buttress the effect and show some real healing that's coming to the moon in Scorpio, where the moon in Scorpio can be overly sensitive, quite vulnerable feeling. But again, it's also, like I said at the beginning, the moon in Scorpio is there's a lot of deeper devotion possible as long as we manage the negative tendencies and negative triggering and stuff like that. But especially with Mars and Pisces, there's a lot of watery energy, and again, that deeper devotional state is certainly possible. But be aware of that tendency to feel abused or mistreated and then lash out or be confrontational. This Venus aspect brings a lot of healing, and it's kind of the last big hurrah of Venus, the last big influence that Venus in Taurus will have. It's been in Taurus since the end of April, a long transit. So this is the last big hurrah, we would say. The last big influence is going to have is this opposition to the moon. So that'll be good. And then on the 31st, the moon crosses into Sagittarius, joins Ketu. And again, those qualities of Sagittarius now, where we have that inspiration and higher meaning and purpose and higher teachings and wisdom. After we go through that transformation in Scorpio, we have this answer that feels more inspiring when the moon goes into Sagittarius. But the South Node is also there for sure. And again, it's bringing this scrutiny here on our sacred cows, especially our beliefs and sacred cows that do not, that are sort of inflexible, our inflexibility points. Again, Sagittarius can be quite rigid about our beliefs, and Ketu going through there is showing us that, showing us a certain rigid quality to our beliefs and our tendency to be fanatical about what we believe. Again, Rahu opposite that in Gemini is trying to say, look, you think you're right. Here's a bunch of information and opportunities to have more intelligence and discrimination. So this moon in Sagittarius with Ketu at the end of the month will revisit some of the fired up, righteousness. Again, the greater lesson and the greater possibility when we're coming from a place of consciousness and awareness and putting higher teachings into practice all the time, like if we're always doing spiritual practice and sadhana and connecting with our guru and literally living that life where that's the focal point, that's the primary purpose, not something that we might get around to, oh, I didn't have time today, but that's the focus, that's the main point. We get up and that's the thing we don't overlook. We always, that's our bottom line, no compromise zone, is this is the center point of my life. When it is, then placements like this Ketu, Moon, Jupiter, and Sagittarius become great opportunities because that scrutiny of Ketu is just like, Ketu is like this laser that concentrates our energy into the deepest possibilities of whatever it's hitting. So it's here in Mula in its own nakshatra, at least the one that's connected to the Vimshotri Dasha. And it's like a laser on that moon, which is all of our emotional attachments, and saying, go deeper than all of these emotions. It's like your heart is like a laser that takes you right to the truth of your deeper consciousness, beyond the world, beyond your emotions, into that place of pure love, pure stillness. But again, if you can't handle that energy, because that's not an easy energy to handle, if you don't have experience with meditation, or if you don't do these kinds of things and your whole life revolves around what's happening in the world, then all that Ketu feels like is, why aren't I want to be happy. And again, you're not happy because of this belief you have. Oh, it's because of this or that. Ketu this is why the planets are benefic and malefic. Malefic doesn't mean bad. It means challenging. It's going to challenge you. It's going to say, I don't care how you feel. Who cares? This is what's happening. And again, if you're up to it, it's in those moments like no other that you can really concentrate and you can really get the point and really get the truth. Because again, Venus, the moon comes in contact with Venus. Oh, it feels good, my family, all this. Okay. But we're not often learning anything spiritual at that time. We're just enjoying life. That's part of it though. Yes. And again, when spirituality is at the center of your life, Moon Venus is also that. You don't just lose yourself in the family or whatever it might be. It's devotional. It's elevated. Everything becomes an extension of God consciousness. Everything becomes an extension of your nature, which if your nature and your practices and your karmas are revolving around doing these things, and that being the point, then every astrological situation brings it to that point. That becomes the point. That becomes a point of all of the astrology. That's why when I hit these points along the way, I keep talking about that as the point, as the possibility. It's always the possibility, but you're the one that determines that. This is going out to people at all different levels of spiritual practice and whatnot. Most of the time, we're not doing spiritual practice, so the moon hits Mars, and we're just frustrated and pissed off. And we're frustrated and pissed off, and it's in Pisces, so we don't know why. We're just confused. We're like, oh, I don't know, so let me just zone out and watch TV. That's often what happens. Yes, that's the possibility. If you're not tuned into anything, that's what it feels like. Moon hits Saturn, and it's like, all right, now I'm worried, stressed. What about my money? When are we going to get back to work? Why I might die? Like, okay, if your whole life revolves around this world and everything that could happen, that's the way it's going to feel. Yes, it will. So this is just for your benefit, right? And look, we're a combination of all of it because the moon hits Saturn and that feeling is going to come up. The moon hits Mars and that feeling is going to come up. It always comes up. It doesn't mean you don't have that difficult feeling that comes up. It does. But then you're like, okay, well, there it is. This is how astrology can help us, because then when it comes, you know, okay, this is Saturn energy. This isn't just weird, I don't know what's going on. You do know what's going on. If it's the moon Saturn, then you know, okay, it's stress, fear, worry. I just need to stay still. And the power of Saturn then brings you to the deeper state of stillness. It's the power of Saturn that it's the same one that, quote, disturbed you, brings you to the truth. If it's Mars, it's the same power of Mars that brings you to the truth, the discipline, not the frustration. And the frustration is a result of not having the discipline. So it's the same energy. It's just elevated and transformed by your consciousness, by your level of awareness. So that's the last thing that I'll say. And so there's some questions here. And it's been going for a while. And so I'm not going to answer a bunch of questions sometimes. I'm just going to do it. So anyway, I hope this was helpful. And again, if this was helpful, let me get it here. Yeah, there it is. Share it with others if it's been helpful for you to hear. And, you know, I hope everyone is safe. You know, we're living in intense times for sure. I hope people are safe in their place. And I'm going to do a few more updates here soon about the virus and some other things. But this is just a general forecast for July. And again, I hope this was helpful and everyone stays safe and does their practices. And it's a very powerful time for all this spiritual growth and development, more so than usual. Again, all of this energy is just cosmic spiritual energy. And again, the example that I use, it's like surfing. And I've tried to surf, and I was okay at it, but it was a little, I'm going to maybe take another whack at it at some point. But, you know, it's like surfing. You can surf on those little waves and you come up and you just barely kind of go very far at all, right? Then you see a big wave that comes, right? And some surfers are just like, whoa, that's just too big. But if you have the courage to jump up on that big wave, the big waves, they take you much further. They take you much further than the little waves. You get on that big wave and you go really fast and you just got to hang on. You just stay with it. Stay with it. And I would say that your karma and the cosmic energy is easier than surfing because it's your nature. You know, on a surfboard, you know, surfing, there's all kinds of things that aren't your nature as a physical body. There's a surfboard, there's water, and your physical body is trying to do it. When it comes to surfing and navigating karma and the karmic waves that come, you're not connected. There's nothing outside of you. There's nothing separate. There's nothing external doing anything to you, including the planets. You're an embodiment of all of it. It's all your nature. It's your tendencies to see it this way. This is why you're completely seeing all of it the way you see it. But the energies are universal. That's why I can talk about these things like this and know that it speaks to every person who hears it, even though I don't know you, because I know the energies and I know what the energies are that are in you. And I know that regardless of where you are specifically on some path with each one, the ultimate nature of that energy in you is this. I already know that part, and that's the important part. The higher nature of Mars is always going to be discipline, and when we're not disciplined, we're frustrated. I don't need to know you personally to know. And if I were to read your chart, it would be your unique version of it, which you think is so unique. That's not. It's just some variation on a theme. If it's Jupiter, I know it's your beliefs, and how the beliefs can help, but also be blinding. It's the same thing. So when we get in these times with these big waves, it's not like we're doing anything that we don't normally do. It's all still your energy. It's nothing outside of you. It's just a matter of your capacity to harness that and use it, which is your higher self, to unlock those deeper dimensions rather than being stuck in your limited version of who you think you are. You think you only get this much of it, and then you struggle, but you're all of it. So that's all meditation is. Even aside from all that, just connect and do your meditation, especially if it's in line with a guru and a higher teacher that you love. When there's love and bhakti flowing, it makes all the difference. When there's not love, then we're doing something as a sort of business agreement. Well, if I meditate, what am I going to get? That can still work, but what really works is love and devotion, because then you love to do it. It's not a chore. It doesn't feel like a chore when you love to sit and reflect and feel the beauty of your guru and your teacher. And when their teachings are beautiful and pure, to say these beautiful mantras and look at the beautiful photo and connect with that heart space. It's not a chore. It's not hard. In fact, it's hard to stop doing it sometime. So everybody should try to connect with those teachers, those teachings. My guru Amma, who has been my Sadguru now for 20 years, all kinds of videos and teachings that you can get online, amma.org. Beautiful connections that can be made. And these times now shouldn't be wasted on just drama. And it's so wasted on drama. You can, and nobody's going to stop you, but as much drama as there's an equal amount of devotion and bhakti. Drama is just devotion that's unchanneled. The same channel that goes into all the drama is the same energy. Imagine if all of that went into devotion and love and higher wisdom. So anyway, I hope maybe this is helpful as well. This is a time to be doing it because, like I said, and I'll go back and tell you that July 4th this year, again, it's why I spent a lot of time talking about it, is Guru Poornima. Maybe this July 4th, if you don't have Guru, I'm sure there will be live streams from Amma's ashram, my Guru Amma. I'll post links for whatever those things are that are happening. This is the day of the year to really get the teachings. Even if she's not your guru or this isn't a guru, even the teachings that I'm telling you right now, these are high dharmic truths. Even just your capacity to get this and go, okay, I get what he's talking about. Yeah, that's actually what it is. Astrology isn't just something to help me be happier relationship or something to help me know my personality better. Yeah, it works on that level, but that's the least important part of astrology. The least important part. It's not just one more thing to help you get what you want. It's understanding your consciousness, your conscious nature, your true nature. And again, it's like people go to gurus just because they want money, actually. Just like people come to astrology because they want to get things. I'm not insulting them. I'm just saying when our level of awareness is that, and by the way, people who go to a great guru like Amma because they know that it improves their business or this and that. And you know what Amma does? She gives it to them. Okay. I'll help you with your business. Okay, your business will get better if that's what you need. The gurus just give. Guru's grace is just giving. It's just benevolence. Just like with astrology, you can come to astrology because you want to feel happier, feel better, make more money, get a better, relationship, and astrology will deliver. Astrologers will do it. You're not hurting astrology. You're not hurting a guru by doing that. You're hurting yourself because you're missing the point. You're missing the point. So anyway, we'll just leave it at that. And I don't want to get preachy, and I hope I don't sound that way, because I just always try to talk about these things in a way that isn't just about the worldly and the external, and have people realize that these are all your energies. Astrology is not something outside doing something to you. You are all of it. And it's really, when you understand it, this is why people study with me, and get especially certification courses and stuff, or like these elaborate trainings. It's really taking that limited self where you're starting now and extending it up toward that higher nature, which is your true nature. And to me, it's just sad that it's not known to be that way. It's not sad, but it's somewhat sad to see that people have just such a transactional nature with astrology, rather than knowing it as this divine science that literally, if you never get any prediction or you never do a chart reading, just knowing your true self is the reason to study astrology. That's the reason. That's the way it was studied in the past, because people wanted the knowledge. They wanted to know who they are, who they truly are, and why they're here. And not just them as an individual, but the cosmos. What is the nature of the cosmos, and who am I in the middle of it? What is all of this? Astrology answers that. So when I look at all of this that's happening, I always see the benevolence that, regardless of how much drama it looks like, or all this or all that, it's all working out. It's all working out. There's a benevolence to all of it. Maybe we don't know what it is. And of course, we don't know what all of it is. That's why when I say things like, this is to humble us, to let us realize we have no idea what's really going on, I'm talking about myself also. I'm not better than anybody about all this stuff. This humbling of the Jupiter Ketu, and we think we got it all figured out. We don't have anything figured out. We don't know how all this got here. We don't know where it's going. We didn't create any of this. But we are, in essence, the essence of the spirit and the wisdom that created it all. That's your true nature. So again, I hope everybody has a good day, stays safe, and we'll be in touch.